Hi, BookTube, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and I thought I would do a. Sorry, my voice is still. I don't know. My voice still feels. I mean, it's not scratchy, but it still feels like I have something there that I need to cough up. Um, and I especially notice it if I talk a lot. Like if I'm practicing for what I want to say when I'm gonna say in my videos, then I talk a lot out loud with that, and sometimes it mess. Or if and like I think also when I try to when I'm watching one of my musicals or something and trying to sing along, then that, which I can't really sing anyway, but I like to sing along and at least I sound somewhat decent, not entirely nails on the chalkboard sound. I don't think. Of course, I can't really hear myself, so I don't know. But I want to make a video and update you guys on how it's going with my reading. I have been practicing what I want to say for my wrap up type videos, and discussing my goals for next year. And I think I'm gonna do something once again. I'm gonna do things a little differently next year, but I will talk more about that in December at some point. Like I might want to wait until the end of December, maybe in January, so I can like what I could do is like film it on the 31st if I happen to get the chance. Like I'm off from work or something, or when at home, then I could film it around the 30th or 31st, and then upload it and have it, the premiere date be January 1st. Then I'll be like perfect when I do all my videos that are like setting up, talking about what I want to do for next year. But anyway, this is just more of an update video. So let's talk about. So let me go ahead and first talk about my library not purchases. I don't, but the books I got from the library that I recently brought from the library. Where did I put? There's one. Oh, here it is. Okay, so first, I'll just talk about the ones I don't have a lot to say at the moment, but I did finally get around to borrowing Sea of Tranquility, Emily St. John Mandel's latest book. And she's an author that I've liked her books and I've enjoyed them. They're not books that I'm gonna buy and then I want to necessarily buy, but I do enjoy them. So I did buy Station 11 and then I ended up putting in the donation pile because I enjoyed it. I did, but it wasn't just like, oh, I have to keep this book because I love it so much and I plan to reread it. I mean, I would like to reread it, but it's probably at my library. So if I ever want to reread her books, then I can always get them at the library. So I got this one, and I really don't know much about it. No one really explains what it's about when they talk about it. So I'm sorry, I'm reading the description. But all of her books seem to be about different things. But they all have a similar feel to them. Almost fairy tale like in a way. And whimsical or but not like whimsy as in, necessarily wholesome whimsy, but more just little like magical and, but like I said, I don't know what this is about. I just know that I really enjoy the author. And, I'm also not that hard to please when it comes to books. I mean, if I just have no interest whatsoever, then I'm not going to get it. But there might be books that I have somewhat of an interest in, and I might get it. As long as it's at the library. Now, I have made a couple mistakes where I bought a book and then regretted it. Not regretted it, but just changed my mind about it. And unfortunately, I recently, I have done that with books, at least one or two at Books A Million, and I try not to do that with Books A Million because that's more expensive. Like with the roast office, it's not that expensive. I mean, they did change the prices. Now all paperbacks are $4, even the nonfiction paperbacks. But it's still cheaper compared to like $20 or $30 that that you get at Books A Million unless you buy a mass market. So I try to make sure that I'm really, really into the book I'm buying. But I did take a risk recently and I was worried. And I will talk about that book in a little bit. I don't have a lot to say, but I'll talk about it. But yeah, I can't really tell you what it's about because honestly I don't know. But it's a library book, so there's no risk. You know, I didn't spend any money. I'm just borrowing it. And so far, my experience with Emily St. John Mandel has been great. I enjoy her books. I just don't love them so much that I have to buy it. But who knows? There's always a possibility that one of her books might be the one that is the one I love so much that I want to have a copy. But let me go ahead and read a little bit. Let me go ahead. I wasn't going to, but you know what? I'm going to go read the description. Edwin St. Andrews, 18 years old, when he crosses the Atlantic by steamship. Okay, so it's historical fiction. Exiled from polite English society, following ill-conceived diatribe at a dinner party, he enters the forest spellbound by the beauty of the Canadian wilderness, and suddenly he hears the notes of a violin echoing in an airship terminal, an experience that shocks him to his core. 2 centuries later, a famous writer named Olive Lewin is on a book tour. She's traveling. Okay, so it has dual timelines. Famous writer named Olive Lewin is on a bookstore. She's traveling all over Earth. Oh, so it's okay. So it's a kind of more of a, which Emily St. John Mandel does have kind of a sci-fi-ness to her with a lot of her books. Even the Glass Hotel, which I think there was a sci-fi feel to it. She's traveling all over the Earth, but her home is the Second Moon Colony, a place of white stone and spired towers and artificial beauty. Within the text of Olive's best-selling Pandemic novel lies a strange passage. A man places violins for spare change in the echoing corridor of an airship terminal, as the trees of the forest rise around him. And Gaspar Roberts, a hotel detective in Black Sky Night City, is hired to investigate an anomaly in the North American wilderness. He uncovers a series of lives upended. The exiled son of an earl driven to madness, a writer trapped from home as the pandemic ravages Earth, and a childhood friend from the night city, the late Gaspar himself glimpsed the chance to do something extraordinary that would disrupt the timeline of the universe. A virtuous performance that is as human and tender as it is intellectually playful. Sea of Tranquility is a novel of time travel metaphysics that precisely captures the reality of our current moment. That sounds really intriguing. Definitely intriguing. And like I said, her books always sound intriguing. It's just not, it's like, once I read them, I'm like, oh, I like that, but I don't, it's like, okay, I read it. I enjoyed it. So this next one was a classic I did buy once. I have a copy of it, and I attempted to read it, but then I lost interest. And I also was concerned that I would get bored by it. But then Olive from Book Olive did a review of the book. And she also did a review of the book that just came out that was a fictionalized version of the inspiration for the author writing the novel. And maybe some of you know what I'm talking about. But here is the Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. And I think I have a Hawthorne book around here somewhere. I think I do have another Hawthorne book on my shelves. But I don't think it's this one. It's not this one. And this is a classic about a woman who I think she gets caught having an affair with a married man or something, and she has to wear the Scarlet A on her lapel, letting people know she's an adulteress. And Olive was saying how a lot of, people, their first thought is, oh, this is probably boring, I couldn't get into it. But then after she read it, I think she really liked it and thought it was really good. And it helped that she was reading it in her own time, on her own, in her own way. It wasn't like school wasn't being influenced because she's not a student. She's way past that. So I wanted to try it out and like see if I like it. And like I said, no pressure because it's just a library book and I'm borrowing it. So although I don't like how it's a naked hardback and it's just plain. Like I like naked hardbacks when they have a design on them. That's why I kind of like I am willing to buy those like why I've started to collect those cloth bound. I mean, I know a lot of people say that, you know, if you read them, people recommend them for display because they're, you know, they fade easily. And it's a hardback book, and hardback books aren't always that comfortable to read. But I really like them. And I can't have multiple copies of a book, so either I'm going to buy those or never buy them and just have the paperback. So I'm taking the risk with those. I mean, which I don't know if I've done. I cannot remember if I ended up doing it or not, but I did think about doing a video where I show all the different editions of classics that I have. I don't remember if I did that or not. I know I thought about doing it. But anyway, I'm intrigued to read this. I don't know much. Like I said, I attempted it once, and I didn't really give it a fair shot. You know, I feel like I picked it up and then decided I wasn't interested anymore. So I'm going to try again. And like I said, I didn't buy this. This was borrowed from the library, so no harm, no foul if I don't love it. So, or I decide to DNF it. But although I'm hoping that I won't have any more DNFs this month. I mean, in these last 2 months. Okay, so finally before I talk about all my other books, let's start talking about the one I'm currently reading from the library, the last book I got from the library, and that is the sequel to Quest for Glory and the School for Good and Evil. And I meant to do a review for that, and I wanted to do it before I returned it, but then, you know, things happened. I had appointments and stuff, and so I forgot to do it. But it was really fun. It was great to be back in that world. The world of the School for Good and Evil. And like I said, I mentioned that I was inspired by watching, I think I did. Or maybe I just, you know, maybe because I rehearsed when I was saying these videos to myself. And, so maybe it was because of when I said it. But I picked up the series again because it had been a few years since I read it. I was inspired by the movie adaptation that just came on Netflix, which I thought was good. I was still entertained by it, you know, but I do understand the criticism that received why not. But I'm very nervous that that's going to mean that it's not going to, the World Without Princess is not going to be made, because I really want that, because I always want an adaptation for even if they're crappy ones. I like the idea of having a visual when I'm reading, that isn't just me trying to use my own imagination, which I know maybe to some people that might be lazy, but I mean, I read books, so it's not like, I love reading, and I read all the time, and I always try to read, I've been trying to read books first before I watch the adaptation, so I think I'm entitled to be a little bit lazy and be like, I want an adaptation so I can use that image to picture in my head. But it did feel rushed, and I do believe that I would rather it had been a TV show, because then they could spend more time with the characters and really develop them and take their time with it. Like the first season is them first getting to the school, and then maybe introducing all the characters, and eventually by the end of the first season or whatever, maybe hinting at, you know, Sophie has a little evil in her, or maybe ending it with the part when they're doing the trial, tale by trial, or, you know, or like maybe save that for a later season or something, or maybe for season 2, I don't know. But I'm not really good. I don't know how they do that, how they plan seasons for books, for sure. Especially if it's just one book. Because there's some shows that, you know, it's not a series, it's just one book. like, I mean, The Handmaid's Tale, although she ended up writing a sequel because of the show. But anyway, and I liked it, but I did feel it was rushed. So I wish it had been a TV show. But anyway, it did inspire me to pick up the second trilogy Salman Shahini wrote, which is the Camelot years. So it's the first book is Quest for Glory, where you have Sophie's the dean for the School for Good and Evil, and I think she's like 16 or 18, and I don't know why Lady Lesso made her the dean. It doesn't make any sense since she's still a teenager, but okay. And Teddy, I'm just gonna call him. I prefer the name Teddy over Teterus, but Teddy and Agatha are trying to prepare to rule Camelot. But unfortunately, Teddy's coronation went horribly wrong, and now he's feeling insecure and thinks the only solution is to get physically stronger. Basically, he couldn't pull the sword out of the stone, and so he thinks, oh, I just need to get some more muscle. Like, apparently that's the solution in his head. And, he also brings Guinevere and Lancelot back to Camelot thinking they deserve to be, which they do. I mean, I kind of agree with him to an extent, but I also agree with Guinevere, Merlin, and Lancelot when they said that maybe it's not such a good idea yet. The people were not ready for them to come to forgive them. And of course these people are very much the mob mentality, and just, you know, if enough people agree, then it will be a mob, and everybody agrees. And they're all sheep. And he believes that, and he starts to push Agatha, and he pushes Agatha. He hasn't interacted with her at all. And she's told by Lady Gremaine, who's Gremlane, that the best solution is that she needs to focus on planning her wedding. Lady Gremaine is just such a bitch to Agatha and so hard on her. And Agatha just wants to help him, wants to help Teddy. She wants to, which I think makes sense. I think that's what she should be doing instead of obsessing over the wedding. Let someone else plan the wedding, not her. And they're doing the thing that a lot of these stories do, which is, like, it's not just in romance, it's also in fantasy, where if you have a couple in the story, they don't communicate. And it's even worse with teenagers. Like, why, you see it all the time in YA, from what I remember. I mean, I haven't picked up it's been a while since I picked up YA. I mean, this is the most recent YA that although I feel, sometimes it feels kind of middle, like a mix, like, it felt kind of like at first it felt very middle grady, but as the story progresses, it feels YA. But yeah, we see that trope all the time, the miscommunication trope, and no one really likes it. Well, I mean, I think there are people that like it. I don't hate it as much as some people do, but it still kind of frustrates me. But I do think at the same time that people can be that way. People can miscommunicate, not communicate at all, and then a third parties to come in and remind them and smack them on the head and be like, you two need to talk. In fact, in the most recent movie I've been obsessing over, it feels like it's not YA, it's an adult story, but it's a Disney, so it's like a adult, but it's kind of a story that both adults and kids can love and enjoy. But and I'll talk about that as well in this video. But like, they also, in that one, I feel like there's a little bit of that miscommunication going on. I mean, it's not as annoying as when teenagers do it, you know, where, well, there's a teenager in that story, but yeah, it's just, and then Teterus is still such a butthead. He's still so frustrating. You still want to smack him. And sometimes they just thought that Agatha deserves better. He's just being extra douchey, I think, in this book. I mean, not this one, but in Quest for Glory he was. And it's just, like, so frustrating. It's like, and he does that thing, he has that whole pride thing, and not liking when Agatha, you know, helps him out, and, you know, and tries to protect him and be like, insists he stop fighting or something, and like not get himself killed. And it has the whole thing about where, and thankfully, all I'm going to say for the second one is thankfully by the second one, Teddy finally admits that Agatha was right the whole time. And it's like, I've been thinking that the whole time I was reading Quest for Glory, that he should have listened to Agatha, but no, his pride got in the way. It's like, oh, I should do this myself. Although he kind of did do that just a second in the chapter I read that I'm currently, and because I'm not done with the chapter, that he did kind of have that old response of, this is my fight, let me do this. It's like, he's all about my fight. I mean, I know he's a king, and he's supposed to, and people won't trust him and depend on him if they don't think he's brave enough, but I think that's on the public. Being, assuming that they can't, and believing that if he's not, he can't be all macho. But although I also think it's a guy thing. Guys are all about, they have to be, and I get it, guys, and Teddy's under a lot of pressure. I do get it, but I still get frustrated and think he's being a dumbass. But anyway, it's called Quest for Glory because they're in their fourth year, and as fourth years, they have to complete a quest. And so, supposedly, Sophie's quest is, to be the dean of the School for Evil, and I don't think she's doing a good job. I think she's she's still all about me. Everything's all about me. Like, oh, I'm gonna give them morale and give them a good time by celebrating myself. And it's like, she disguises the fact that it's all about her. Like, I think she's definitely, especially in this book, she does seem to be growing once again. But like I said in my review on Goodreads, I feel like she had grown a little bit, but in Quest for Glory, she was still selfish and vain. But I never thought she was, evil. I think she was just a little spoiled little girl who wanted to be a princess and, was, only doing things because to make herself look good. Because remember, I mean, I had forgotten about this until I saw the movie, and watching people's responses to the movie, and reminded me about the books, that in the book, unlike in the way they said in the movie, they make it seem like they're best buds, but in the book, Sophie was only at first friends with Agatha because, it'll make her look good because Agatha is bullied by the community and seen as a witch and stuff, so, I'm doing this charitable thing. She was never really, you have those relationships where, one person loves the other person more. Well, Agatha loves Sophie more, I think. Or did in the beginning. Now, I think it's even. That relationship is good, although no one trusts Sophie. Which, a part of me can't entirely blame them, but on the other part is still very pissed off. And when everyone tells Agatha, you shouldn't trust her. You're being naive. And it's in this book, too. It's a lot more, and even more in this book. They're all they automatically are oh, Sophie's a coward, she's gonna abandon us. They even, and, it's Agatha's the only one who still believes in her friend. And yes, the one teacher that told her, well, there's limits in friendship. Especially if you have a complicated friendship. But, friendship is also about not giving up on the person, always being supportive and love each other no matter what. And the same thing with romantic relationships. Yes, there are limits. There is a line you have to draw if the friendship is toxic. But I don't think it's, Sophie and Agatha's friendship is not as toxic as it was in the first book, the first trilogy. The first trilogy, it was very toxic because there was clearly it was an uneven friendship where, Agatha was very loyal to Sophie and really cared about her and appreciated how much she cared about it, was supportive, helped her and stuff like that. But Agatha was not a complete Indian either. But she keeps defending Sophie. She's the key defending Sophie throughout this book and the first book. Even Teddy doesn't trust her. Everyone's assuming, when they're watching, he just always assumes the worst. Even when she's play acting. Let's put it that way. I don't want to spoil anything, but she at one point does have to pretend to be a certain way, and pretend to be again, like, in a way, a villain. That's all I'm gonna say in this book. But I really had fun. I loved being back in this world and meeting with these characters again, even though they frustrate me most of the time. And I'm so glad that, Hort gets a chance to shine in this one. He gets a girlfriend, he gets a love interest. He's still kind of devoted to Sophie, but I think he's growing up a lot and moving on from her, but he's still being a good friend. I think Hort still believes in her. And maybe Hester, Andal, and Dot still do. But most everyone else thinks... Well, although I don't know. I think even they are like, oh, she's just evil and stuff like that. Oh, can we trust her? And yeah, even they're like, I don't know if we can trust her, if she's going to help us out or not. But I cannot wait to prove, once again, throughout this whole book, there's moments where she proves time and time again that she is trustworthy and she is loyal to Agatha and she's not completely evil. I mean, I never thought she was. I think it would, because at the end of the day, she's just a naive teenage girl who's boy crazy and wants, although I guess I shouldn't say boy crazy as much anymore. I think it's just she wants love. She's lonely and she doesn't want to admit it. But it's not that she's boy crazy. I think it's just that she wants to be loved. She wants what Agatha and Teddy have. And it looks like she gets it. But then, of course, it goes horribly wrong, is all I'm gonna say. But it was great to be back in this world. I don't have a lot to say about the rain. The rain is good. I mean, it is middle grade YA, so there's nothing really special, and it's not super flowery writing or anything. I love being in the fairy tale world, this version of the fairy tale world. So while I'm talking on the fairy tale phase, the other movie I had hinted at that I'm watching that also has the miscommunication thing going on is, I finally watched Disenchanted and I absolutely loved it. It was so much fun and I'm so glad. I mean, I think it was worth the wait. I know not everybody did. Like, one of the reviewers I enjoy, and I still like her. I'm not, that dumb and be like, oh, you don't love this movie, so I don't like you anymore. It wasn't like that. It's more, I just was a little like, oh, I wanted someone to gush with it, and they don't like it. She doesn't like it, dang it. But I could see her points, her critiques of it. Now, I don't agree with her about the music. I think it is, like, but she admitted that she also didn't love the first one, so. And she wasn't, and I don't think she's entirely wrong when she says, oh, musical theater people will love it, and I'm a musical theater person. Not like hardcore as some people, but I definitely was a musical theater kid. But, yeah, I loved it. And I already have 2 favorite songs that I have on my iPod. But it's really, if you guys have seen the trailer, I'm sure you can guess, I'm sure you know what it's about, like, how Giselle wants the life as a fairy tale because it's so much more different, and a lot harder in her mind being in this world. But I think it's more like a different kind of challenge, which I think that's what Nancy is trying to tell her. And it's in the trailer, that conversation, a little bit of bits and pieces of it are in the trailer. When she's talking to Nancy about it. And Idina Menzel gets a song, and it's one of my favorite songs, along with the villain song. Maya Rudolph from SNL fame, Bridesmaids, and trying to think else. She is in the movie as the villain. But there's also kind of a surprise villain, which I guess in a way it's not that much of a surprise because I think the trailer implies it. What's gonna happen, but it was really fun. It was also really, I've never heard Patrick Dempsey sing, and his voice was pretty good, and I know he does, I swear, to this day, I still believe he did sing a little bit in the original Enchanted, because I think he does sing in the song, in the ball at the ball when him and Giselle are dancing together. I think there was a second where he did sing for a second, for a moment. I think. I want to say I always watch it, and I swear I think he sings for like a minute or two. Which I love that scene, and which I get what people are saying. One of the complaints people have is they wish. It's one of the things that people say is in the, like when I was watching like clips and stuff on YouTube, and like watching some of my favorite scenes in musical numbers. I know some people were saying, "Oh, I wish there had been more Robert and Giselle in this one because they are a really cute couple, and they're mostly a normal couple. They're not all over the top drama, I mean they do, but it's more external stuff. Um, like, but and the first one did. They both kind of had their like, or he had his issues, but and there was another person, but it wasn't like as crazy of a love triangles. Because I mean, she barely had a relationship with Edward. Like it was love at first sight in the first movie that he's saying, but it wasn't really love because he is there to catch her when she falls, but it's not like he actually did much of anything. He just tried to, but really it was Pip who kind of helped, who did the most. She falls and he catches her. And they meet eyes, and she recalls him. He looks like the guy in her dreams. She's like, "Oh, it's you, and I don't know anything about you, but you have nice eyes, and let's get married. I'm in love. Let's get married." And which, I mean, that was the point. It was a commentary on that whole, what a lot of fairy tales and Disney movies particularly do, which is people lock eyes and it's like they're instantly in love. Like that's one of my only problems with Cinderella is that insta love thing. As a modern woman, it bugs me. Although what I like about after I watched Disenchanted for the first time, because I watched it like twice now. And I'm thinking about watching it again. Where in the for suggested movies to watch. They had some 1997's version of Cinderella, the musical with Brandy and Bernadette Peters, and I was like, what the heck, it's one of my favorites. But like, my only problem with that is the romance. But that's just how the Cinderella fairy tale is. But what I do appreciate is they did try with that one where they have the added scene where they're in town right before it's announced the princess having a ball, giving a ball, and they're in town and walking around, and then the two of them bump into each other, and they kind of flirt a little bit, and so they added that scene, and then at the ball he vaguely remembers her, but he doesn't know it's the same girl, so, but anyway. But although what's nice about Enchanted and Disenchanted is that Robert and Giselle have, they get to know each other, even though it was still only a few days, which that's what he says. He when she at the climax of the movie, when she's about to, well, I guess the battle with the stepmother's dragon is the climax, but when they're when his stepmother tricks her into taking a bite from the apple, and like she's and then they were like, "Oh wait, true love's first kiss," and Edward tries it and it doesn't work. Which, see, you're not really true loves. And then Nancy realizes that, Nancy and Edward both realize at the same time that, oh, you're the true love, And of course, Edward's a little more okay with it. Like, I was watching, and one of the comments on YouTube about the movie was that they feel like Giselle kind of stole Robert from Nancy. And the response comment was explaining why that's not the case, and I agree with that comment. But anyway, it made me think about how in that scene when, you know, you can tell she's really upset and hurt by this because she was already worried that something happened between the two of them because she catches them in a compromising position. Of course, Giselle doesn't understand. She just thinks, oh, we accidentally... She's all giggling is like, not intending to flirt, but just... She just thinks it's funny, but, you know, in a silly, naive kind of way, not realizing what it looked like when she falls and she's just wearing a towel. Falls on top of them and just wearing a towel. And so Nancy's already worried, but she had forgiven him because he, you know, Giselle helps him send her flowers via doves. And, but then that scene, you know, first of all, Edward and I think that's how they knew that Robert was the one, was her true love, because, Robert and Nancy decide to dance, because it's like, you know, oh, you gotta ask someone else to dance at the ball now, you know, just give another woman, dance with someone else, kind of thing, and they see them dancing and holding each other's, you know, looking in each other's eyes and dancing and stuff, and you know, so she and Edward realized it, so that's why they were the ones who are like, oh, it's not working, oh wait, you're the one, and yeah, Nancy's like, just kiss her, goddammit. And not like that, but she's like, kiss her, Robert. And you can tell in her tone that she is hurt by this, but she also is like, you know, like the kind of feeling when you sigh and you're like, all right, I accept this kind of sigh. And but it is really and she also fell in love with Edward. They seem to be in a really lovey-dovey place right now. They're a very cute couple too. And you know, but it's just funny. He's all like, I've only known her for a few days, and he's trying to, and that's when she's, you know, it's like, it's not possible. I haven't known her that long, and, you know, and she's like, and that's when, you know, says, just kiss her, goddammit, and it's you, whether you believe it or not. But anyway, so as you can tell by my continuous talking about the movie, both movies is that I want to gush with someone. I don't have anyone to gush with because it's not my parents kind of, and my, you know, Larissa hasn't watched it, and I don't know if Terry would be interested in it. Terry, if this is one of the movies you watch, one of the videos of mine that you watch, are you interested in Disenchanted? Because I want to gush with someone, but I know Larissa's gonna watch it, but she wants to watch it with her older sister, because it's Giselle's her older sister's favorite princess, Disney princess. But anyway, so I'm waiting on her so I can gush with her about it if she loves it, and I hope she does, because like I said, the first review I watched, that person did not like it. But anyway, I really like the songs, and like I said, what I was getting at originally was going to get at is that, like, I like romance, and and Robert and Giselle are cute, and I did want more, and I do agree that, you know, with that reviewer, that I wish there had been more of Robert having more of a story, more of conflict. I mean, but I do think he does a little bit, or at least they tried to give him something, because they moved to suburbia, and so he has to commute back to the city. And I think, like, he was struggling with that and adjusting to that, but also I think he wanted purpose in his life, and he felt like he was, you know, didn't have that, and then the most important thing in his life, his two girls, are that, you know, Morgan's now a teenager, a very moody teenager, and then you have Giselle, who still doesn't understand some of society, you know, some of how people are in this world. Like, there's the running joke of, you know, how Morgan is very sarcastic, and, you know, Giselle doesn't always process sarcasm. And she's just trying to be a good mother and help Morgan, and Morgan just does not want it, doesn't want anything, doesn't want her, and she's also now, like, when she was a kid, she thought it was so cool that she sang, and that she was a princess and everything, but now, of course, it's just more annoying and weird to her because Giselle, of course, still breaks out into song, and, she doesn't, like, and Giselle's just just tries too hard because she loves Morgan so much. She wants to be a good mother because she didn't, especially since she didn't have a mom. And it's just kind of a sad, and then and Morgan's just being a moody teenager and just thinks that Giselle's trying too hard and is embarrassed, and she's being kind of bratty. But then as the story progresses, I think she, obviously she grows and learns, and that's the main story, is the relationship. One of the main conflicts is the relationship between Morgan and Giselle, and their relationship. Like, at one point, Morgan has just had enough and is mad at her and says, and Robert's like, you don't speak to your mother that way. And she says, she's not my mother. She's my stepmother. And that just was a slap in the face. And, it's just a very, and it's just, I enjoyed that story. Like, yes, I might have wanted more of Robert, although I did like how Robert was acting in the movie. It was very, it was very funny, and, just his performance, Patrick Dumpty's performance, and how he acted and stuff. How he portrayed Robert in this, what happens to the characters was really fun and funny and stuff. But, I absolutely love the Morgan and Giselle storyline. I thought it was, and maybe they could have done more with Morgan and the school stuff, but the movie was only an hour and 30 to 40 minutes. Probably close to 2 hours, but not exactly 2 hours, I think. And they still do the 2D animation, by the way. They still have some of those scenes. Like, the opening scene is the 2D animation, and then in the middle of the movie, they have some 2D stuff. But yeah, it was so great, and Maya Rudolph did such a great job as the latest villain. And there are some Once Upon a Time flavors to them, not just because it's a fairy tale, but also, there is a vibe there. And I did find out from the review I watched, and another person mentioned in one of the clips I was watching, that a Once Upon a Time writer was on the staff for this movie. So of course there's some vibes, Once Upon a Time vibes in this. But anyway, so yeah, I've been kind of in the fairy tale fantasy mood. So yeah, now let's talk about what I'm currently, that is in the library book that I'm picking up. So I still am making my way through The Name of the Rose, which is a bit of a mystery, like a thriller set in 1300s. Takes place at an abbey in Italy. And I don't have as much to gush about with this one, but that does not mean that I don't love this book. I'm not enjoying it, but it's a different kind of thing compared to a book like, School for Good and Evil series. But there are characters that I don't trust in the book that I have my suspicions they might be involved in the murder that happens because someone gets murdered or killed. And there are sometimes when I pick it up and I'm really into it, but then if I'm reading it, it's hard to read during my 15-minute break and focus on it during that time. Because I'm trying to eat my sandwich without getting, and while I'm reading, and sometimes eating and reading for me is kind of hard. But I am definitely intrigued by this. I mean, like I said, it's a different feeling to watching Disenchanted or reading School for Good and Evil. It's a little different, but still intriguing. And like I said, there's characters I don't trust here. There's one particular character that I'm suspicious of him. But it poses a lot of philosophical questions in the book. Especially about religion and stuff. And there's this whole debate about that I found really interesting, intriguing, about how laughter is seen as bad and we should be more serious, and laughter is just pleasure, and God didn't laugh kind of thing, which I don't believe that. And it's an interesting discussion, in how people are so serious, and and there's a lot of that kind of discussion throughout so far. It's always interesting to compare how people see religion and worship, and I think whether you believe or not, I think it's kind of interesting to see how people in religion are. I mean, you can, like, and I think it can always be fun in a way to read about those type of people. Especially, and I think they make very intriguing villains. Like, a lot of people's favorite villain is Claude Frollo. And he was a religious man and never saw himself as a bad guy. He was like, I'm a man of God. And it's always, like, frustrating but engaging to read or watch fictionalized villains that are just all, like, they use God as an excuse to, like justify their actions and act like what they do is, how they're going about things is not wrong because God says so. Oh, I hate when I do this when I'm stopped in the middle and I haven't finished the chapter. Although there's only, so I really should pick it up tonight real quick and, like, maybe after I film this video I'll read those last couple pages. But it's slow going. It's actually a book on the Rory Gilmore reading list. So that was, but although I don't think that was why I picked it up. It was actually because Tristan in the Classics was why I picked it up. Because the way he talked about this book got me really intrigued by it. And I think I saw it at the roast office and read the back and it got my attention. So I was like, let me try it. Because I'm not exactly, sometimes I'm into religious fiction. Like, that's like medieval fiction, I should say. I shouldn't say religious, I should say medieval fiction. But sometimes it doesn't always do it for me. Sometimes it doesn't always work. Like, there was one, mystery that was like this. It was a mystery kind of thriller story, and a woman has disguised herself as a nun, and she hides in an abbey. And it's I think it's a series of books where the woman, she's an amateur detective. And I thought it was entertaining and interesting at the time, but I didn't love it. But it was also a library. I got it from the library, so it was okay that I didn't love it. But this one is a little different. This one I'm more intrigued by. But yeah, that's The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. So, like I said, I don't have a lot to say because I didn't really, I don't know what to say. And then we have, so I did start reading, I was inspired to pick up this one because it's the last book in the trilogy, and then I can read other stuff by Joe Abercrombie. This is The Last Argument of Kings. I did start it. I did read a little bit of it. I need to pick it up again soon because I don't want to be one of those ones where I start reading and then I put it down and don't pick it up for a while. And like I said, it picks up where the last one left off, of course. We see where the characters are now. And it's the ending of the second one was actually kind of a surprise. I like how the twist of it in the second one, like, you expect it to go one way, but then, surprise, it goes a different way, a way that you didn't expect. But it's kind of like, you pick up where the characters coming back from their little trip in the second book, and they're kind of defeated, and they go back to their old, their old habits. And once again, we get the charming voice of Glokta, where in his head he's thinking something, but other times he's thinking, like, in his mind he's thinking one thing, but he's doing what he's told. Like, he doesn't admit his true feelings for the situation. But I feel bad for that. He wouldn't want pity, but I do feel bad for him. But I would love to see him with, I prefer him with the sister, West's sister, than what's his name? I cannot think of his name. The guy that I don't like in the book. He's the only character that I didn't like in the first book. Although he's grown on me in the second book. But yeah, so this is it's a trilogy, so there's only this book, and then there's a bunch of other books, like his Half King series, which is YA, I think. And then you have there's a bunch of other series that he's written as well. He's doing really good. He's been writing a lot of books, and he seems like an author that writes a lot of books that are in the same universe. It seems like, except for the Half a King series. But anyway, yeah. So I haven't got very far, so I don't have much to say about this one. But I need to pick it up soon. But this always happens when I start going to the library. I prioritize the library books, but I really wanted to. But once I read the first Quest for Glory, it ended on cliffhanger. So I was like, okay, I gotta jump into the next one, and then I gotta read the next one. It's 3 books, so it's only a trilogy. So once I get that done, I don't know yet because I have all these other books that I showed you as well to read. So yes, I don't have anything to spit, but I am enjoying it, having a good time with it. Okay, sorry, my room. I mean, it's a good thing that you guys can't see. Like, I don't stand up in my videos and you guys cannot see, because my room is a mess right now. Because we got on my room. I don't know if you guys remember this, but my room is the attic. The entrance to the attic is in my room, so that's where all of our Christmas decor is. So my mom decided, because we're having my sister and my brother-in-law and the kids are coming for Christmas, on Christmas Day they'll be coming. I don't know how long they're going to stay. Their visits are usually short, but that's because the kids got school and everything. But they'll come on Christmas Day, I believe. And, so we're working out all the decor. I mean, my mom does it every year. The other thing that changes is if we put up the regular Christmas tree, or the German Christmas tree. That's what I had, it was actually my idea to do that, where, like, when the kids are coming, we'll put up the regular tree, and then when they're not coming, we'll put up the German Christmas tree, which they would probably actually like some of the aspects of the German Christmas tree, but my dad, it was a little, because, they're still little. They're still little kids. So even if they like it, I think he is apprehensive about them getting a hold of some of the little things. Because if you don't know about German Christmas trees, it's this display of these different levels of different scenes. Something like that. I mean, I'm gonna have to look it up. I would recommend looking it up just in case, because I'm just going by what we have. So you might still want to look it up. But, just to see if you're interested in German Christmas trees. So my dad just put up the tree yesterday. And then I have a little tree in my room. You guys have seen it. So I just finished decorating it. We don't have it plugged in yet. I don't have it plugged in. I just wanted to go ahead and decorate it. And I didn't put the beads up this time, because my mom didn't put up the beads in the other tree. So I ended up deciding not to put the beads up on mine, too. Which, I mean, it's fine. I doesn't need them. Although I don't like doing that, because, I mean, my only issue is that it's hard to find where I can put all the decor and stuff. But all the ornaments and stuff. But anyway, so yeah, my room is basically still a mess. And then and I'm keeping in case my grandma comes, which I guess she's not going to come, so I guess we can move the stuff down the basement. I'll have to ask them when they get back, because my parents just went out, to go work out. We still have all of our wrapping and stuff is up here in my room still, so that doesn't help. And then I have all the tree sheddings are all over the place and on my floor, so I need to vacuum my floor, and it's just a mess. So I'm glad that you guys can't see my whole room. But anyway, so And then let's talk about. So anyway, I also have. So this was the book that I bought that was kind of a risk, and I bought it at Books a Million. I mean, it looks like it's a series. It's going to be a series or a trilogy. But I was recently watching Mads. I cannot remember what she changed her channel to. Like Books with Mads or something. But, where she did a review of it was a different book. It was a TikTok. She's been doing all these videos about TikTok books and are they worth her time kind of thing. And she'll read them and then do a review. And she did not really like this one. And then while I was looking, I saw there's a video rant review she did about this book. So I was like, uh-oh. And at that time, and I was really frustrated. And I and my only problem in my only thing is the reason why in this case I don't want to let anyone influence me about this book is because that day I got this on the day when I actually spent a little too much and went a little too close to my budget. And so I'm like, okay, I wasted my money and bought this book, so I'm determined to read it and like and enjoy it. I want to at least read it so that I won't regret my spending. That's one of the few times I took a risk when it came to Books a Million. And because normally I feel like I shouldn't do that because the books there are more expensive. So, but this is a fae. What got my attention is a fae book, and I think it's sapphic romance. But I want to try it because I do like those kinds of books sometimes. In fact, I have been tempted a couple times to get back into Sarah J. Maas, and at least get back to the Court of Thorns and Roses series, because I did enjoy it. At the time, I just kind of fell out of love with her and her writing, but I was at the time after I read Aquawar and everything, and I was interested in what she was gonna do next with those characters, and I was one of those people that had strong feelings on the whole Lucian and Elaine and what's the other guy's name? What is the other guy's name? Oh, I can't remember it. I was all more for Team Lucian, which I think I might have been the minority. I think most people prefer Elaine with the other guy. And I understand their arguments why. I do, but I kind of like Lucian. Although I think I got the impression that if it wasn't Elaine, there was another character that he potentially could have had a romance with. But I don't know what's going to happen because I haven't picked it up. I have not explored those. And I think also the review for that one, A Court of Frost and Starlight, kind of turned me off a little bit from it. Like, especially Reads with Cindy's reviews were hilarious about it. She's one of those rant reviewers that's really funny. Just like some rant review, I like it with those rant reviews. As long as I don't care about the book as much, those rant reviews are can be actually kind of funny, entertaining. I think that's why they do well. Because people like it when people rant. It's very amusing. But anyway, so this is one of the ones I wanted to pick up. I was determined to read it and like it just because I want it to be a case where I read it and decide how I feel about it on my own. I mean, I think it does help, when I go to the roast office looking at Goodreads to decide if I'm going to spend the money on the book, if it's worth it. There's books that I'm, look at and kind of interested, but I'm not 100% sure if it's worth it. Although, like I said, at the roast office, the paperbacks are only $4. But, Farley isn't just an orphan. Oh, wait. Farley is just an orphanage. At least that's what the church would have, the people believe. But beautiful orphans, Knox and Faye Touch Amaris know better. They are commodities for sale, available for purchase by the highest bidder. So when the madam of the notorious brothel in a far-off city offers a king's ransom to purchase Amaris, Knox ends up taking her place, while Amaris is drawn away to the mountains, home of the mysterious assassins. Even as they take up new lives and identities, Knox and Amaris never forget one thing. They will stop at nothing to reunite. But the threat of war looms overhead, and the two are inevitably swept into the conflict between humans and fae, magic and mundane. With strange new alliances, unsettled, untested powers, and a bond that neither time nor distance could possibly break. The fate of the realms lies in the hands of two orphans. The love they hold for each other. So it sounded good when I read it. So I'm determined to pick it up, and I want to pick it up soon. So, and I don't know if it's gonna be a trilogy or a series or what, but I know it's the first book. So, so next, let me talk about some of the other books I'm thinking about reading. So, so first, you guys saw this book already. You saw these. Well, first, let me say, and there's a few others over there, like, Black Mouth and the, what is it? I cannot remember. The Personal Librarian. It's another one I'm considering. But, first, Persuasion by Jane Austen. I have been meaning to reread this. It's slowly growing on me. I slowly get more and more interested in this. This is a second chance one of Jane Austen's second chance romance story, and everyone talks about how much I love this, and I just keep wanting to give it a try again with this. I don't know what I'm waiting for. Like, I did use a bookmark with an Emma quote on this in this book. But, and I know that basically, this young woman, Anne Elliot, she was in love with Frederick Wentworth, but he at the time was just a sailor, and her godmother talked her out of the marriage, and he left for good, and then he comes back into her life, and he's a captain, so he's doing a lot better, has a lot more money now, and, it's just this whole, like, there's this tension between the two of them, and he's still kind of angry at her, and, there's another man, Mr. Elliot, who's, like, a distant cousin, I think, that is supposed to inherit the money, because her father only has her and then her two sisters, and one of them's already married, so, there's a cousin that they might get the money to. But Mr. Elliot, the cousin, is probably, I think I remember him being more charming than Mr. Collins and more likable than Mr. Collins. But, yeah, I was going to read it for Jane Austen July, but I never got around to it. So, I want to read it soon before the end of the year. Because but this was one of the cheaper editions, because it's one of those ones that I still don't know how I feel about it. Like, I used to think it was boring, but each time I read it, I like it a little bit more.
Do you know what brand they are?
One second, let me close this. One second. Sorry, my parents just got back from their workout. So yeah, I want to read this again, because I keep, every time I read it, I feel like I like it more and more. So, and I don't know if I should ever reread Northanger Abbey too. I did take it off the shelf as a possible donation book that went along with the Edith Wharton book. But I don't know. I mean, it's hard to decide which, because I try to go through my books and pick out books that I can donate, and I've decided I'm not interested in anymore, or I read it and I don't absolutely love it. But yeah, I want to give this one another shot for the third time. Which, like I said, I enjoyed it a lot more the second time around. So it's not like I don't feel like I'm forcing it. I feel like I think it's growing on me, like I said. So, there's that one. And then, let's see what else. So, you guys already saw this. Although there's another book I'm thinking that I might pick up. Because it's a book that's kind of referenced in The School for Good and Evil, Crystal of Time. But, and that one is Robin Hood. So I'm talking about the ones I just got. They're these editions of classics, and the paper mill. So but these are 2 science fiction books. Like I'm first one being The Time Machine, which I read years ago, and I've been wanting to reread it and give it another chance and look at it, and because now there's other aspects of plots like this that I'm more intrigued by than originally, because I was expecting to be like the movie, the adaptation from the early 2000s, and it's not exactly like that. It kind of takes a different. I mean, it still has the basic premise of the guy going back in time, and he goes so far back that he encounters. It's to a world where you have these people living on these humanoids. These humans living above, but you also have that group living below, the Morlocks. And I think, if I remember, I think they used to be humans, but then they got so distorted and lived underground for so long that they change and they're no longer human-like anymore. But because I want to focus more on the science fiction aspect, and I feel like I focus too much on expecting it to be like the movie and have the romance and all that I wanted to focus. Although I think it does have a romance, but it's a little different than the romance that's that was implied in the movie, the adaptation. But anyway, and like I said, the early 2000s, there was another adaptation I know. I don't know who played our main character, but I've been wanting to reread this one. And, so the next, there's that. Like I said, I really like these editions. They're a little stiff, but I like the look of them. And I remember even my mom liked it. That's why she was like, oh, well then just go ahead and buy a bunch of them for. And then I was trying to decide if I want to read this or, like I said, read Robin Hood. But this is another sci-fi. I feel like I should do that and not read 2 sci-fis at once. But, one right after the other. But that's The Journey to the Center of the Earth, because I've kind of been into Jules Verne right now. Granted, I didn't absolutely love 20,000 Leagues Under the Seas. But, I thought I still liked it to an extent, but I was a little disappointed by it at the same time. So but I haven't only given up on Jules Verne. And also, these were, on a used bookstore. It was not Book Depository, I don't think, but I cannot remember which. Not Book Depository, it was something else, a different site. Maybe it was Book Depository. But anyway, so, and now I did see a review in that the reviewer didn't absolutely love this one. They were disappointed in aspects, but like I said, I didn't spend that much on it. So when I want to try Jules Verne again and I have two. I ended up buying 2 of his books. As if you watch my video on my Paper Mill Classics haul, I got 2 Jules Verne's books. This one in Around the World in 80 Days. Because I saw the adaptation of that one. But anyway, I don't know if I want to pick up this one. Like I said, I think I want to pick up The Time Machine, but maybe I'll pick a different book instead of like maybe Robin Hood or something. So I don't do 2 science fiction classics. But I don't know yet. But this is like a father and a son discover a map to another world or something, and they have to journey to the center of the earth to get to this other world. And they did do an adaptation of this one with Josh Hutcherson and was it Brendan Fraser? But they kind of did a story within a story where they discover it's the book Journey to the Center of the Earth. I think is in the story. But anyway, so I don't know if I'll read this one or not. But like I said, I want to try Jules Verne. I might wait until next year, like January, before I read that one. So, next is, you guys know I showed you guys King Lear. I want to pick up that one so that maybe in January I can read, The Queens of Innis Lear, which is a retelling where it's focused on his daughters, King Lear's daughters, and I guess this story is told from their perspective, in a novel format. It's not a play, it's a novel. But this one, I want to go ahead and read the play, because I want to get more into Shakespeare and try his play, read more of his plays, because I read some of them, of course, at school. The only one I absolutely loved was the Julius Caesar one. But, it doesn't look, the writing does not look too hard. But, I feel like with Shakespeare, the writing is so different that sometimes it can be hard to follow along, and you can't figure out what the character's point is, what they're getting at. But, yeah, I want to pick up this one. So, I want to read this one so that maybe in January I can read The Queens of Innis Lear afterwards, because I feel like I need to read King Lear first to really appreciate The Queens of Innis Lear. I mean, I'm sure you could probably read that series, and because I think, Elliot Brooks read that without having read King Lear, the play, and she still enjoyed it too, But anyway, so yeah, I want to read this one. And also, just like I said before, I don't know why, but I really love the look of these Barnes & Noble editions. I don't know, I like the look of it. But let's see, what does it say? It doesn't really, I think it's his children, he's trying to decide which of his children should take the throne, and there's, don't, and some of them turn against their father or something. Yeah, I don't know, but I think I'm gonna pick up Paradise Lost also this month. It's just right now I'm in the middle of library books. It's I want to prioritize those first so I can return them at some soon, but yeah, so it's just, that's the problem. That's why I only, I tried to lessen my library visits, because I feel like I didn't prioritize the library books first so I can return them. And some books, are a little slower than others. And if I'm working a lot, then it's my reading time. I mean, I'm not working 8 hours, but it's still 4 to 6 hours, which is funny. I had a doctor's appointment, and I mentioned that we were talking about that I was mentioning my socks, and I was saying 4 to 8 hours on your feet, and one of the nursing assistants was like, oh yeah, and my mom quickly corrected her. It's she doesn't work 8 hours, because I don't. My most hours are 6 hours at the most. And she's all, she was telling her, well, I'm trying to tell her how lucky she is, and it's it doesn't feel that way. Yeah, I know it could be 10 times worse if I had the hours that my mom works, but still, I'm still tired, and my feet still hurt a little bit, so, yeah, I don't work as much, and I get that, but it's still. But yeah, we were talking about that. Um, but anyway, so which I don't know why I cannot remember why I brought that up. But oh wait, yeah, I remember it was something to do with, when I'm working, it's like, yeah, I don't work that many. I only like 6 hours at the most. But when I get home, depending on when I went in, it might be late and I'm tired and it's like, do I want to read? And then the only other, when I go to work, I only get a 15-minute break. So, I don't get as much reading done on the days I work because then I want to, I'm trying to find a balance of all the activities I do. Like, I don't just read, I also, which, although funnily enough, I've been watching there's been these videos coming up on my feed about people who swap screen time for reading time. But I feel like I don't have, I think there are people that are worse than me with their screen time. But yeah, at the same time, I'm not gonna lie and say that I will have moments where I'm on my phone for 30 minutes, or sometimes, and then like some of my phone time consists of when I go in the bathroom to rest a little bit and to sit down for a moment, and during work, and then I look at my phone and look at Goodreads and stuff, and then I have my phone with me when I go for my walk and stuff. So. But I still think I'm not as bad as some people, in all honesty. My dad is a lot worse than me with his phone, with his screen time. And it's not like he doesn't, he likes reading, but I read a little bit more than he does. And he's also kind of picky when he wants to read. He doesn't have a lot of books that he likes. He just has his favorites or books. He's kind of more of a nonfiction reader, I think, in history and all that. But so hence why he wrote historical fiction. But anyway, so the last one I want to talk about, and I've been hoping to go back to Books A Million again, because after that whole incident, it was a bit of a mistake on my part, where the guy offered because this is the holiday season, the store is doing donations, and they asked me if I wanted to donate, and the guy before me had donated, so I was like, what the heck, and I didn't know what I wanted to donate, so I was like, and I knew my dad was coming to pick me up, so I was like, okay, just whatever you pick, and he picked because the Stranger Things DVD was very popular, and I did not consider the fact that DVDs are kind of pricey. So that's why I ended up going a little too close to budget. But then my parents knew that I was kind of someone who doesn't always have that awareness and understanding of spending, and so they ended up, my dad, because I think he decided to get me a gift card, and I think it has the exact amount of money that I ended up spending that I would have had left if I had not been, if that whole incident hadn't happened. I think what's on the gift card is because he went to the bookstore to ask if he could, right before he went to his other meeting that evening, he went to the bookstore, but he didn't have me with him with my credit card, so he was like, so it was one of those situations, so he ended up having to, help me out a little bit, and because of that, the only thing they could do was give me a gift card, and I think it's the exact amount of money that I spent, that I would have had left over. But anyway, so the other book I ended up getting along with, there's something else I got that day as well, but I can't remember what it was. But, well, actually, it might have been the Night in Its Moon might have been the other book. But I also got, actually, I think that was it. That was the book. So I also got The Silmarillion. So this year I have determined to read Lord of the Rings, but I also wanted to get this. And actually, Terry had read this book. I don't know, she probably doesn't remember. Because it was a long time ago when she read it. But I know she read it. She attempted to read it and said it was actually not that hard. So I picked it up. And what I really appreciate is it's not like epic poetry like some of the other books of his that he wrote. Because I like that. I'm fine, I'm getting into that. But there's sometimes I just need I just want regular prose. So, and I think this is kind of like, Blood of the Dragon, or, Blood and Fire, where it's kind of like a nonfiction about this fantasy world, about, the fantasy world of Westeros, and I think this is kind of the same thing, where this is kind of like a nonfiction of Middle Earth, and how it got started. I just noticed, so that's what that is. I couldn't figure out what it was. But, yeah, it's the author's name, and it's written kind of in Elvish. And it's edited by his, I don't know if it's his son or grandson. But, yeah, and I remember watching, like, behind the scenes stuff of, like, Return of the King. There was, like, one of my favorite special features to watch on my Return of the King Extended Edition DVD is, where, talking about the whole series and, Tolkien and everything. And they mentioned how the Silmarillion is about, the humans in the Silmarillion are what is his name? Aragorn's ancestors. And, so is he, I think, in Gondor? But excuse me. I'm starting to feel the tiredness. But it's late, so it's not like I can have a cup of coffee or anything. But we're gonna eat dinner soon. But, so, in the Gondor, the ancestors of the people of Gondor as well, I think. But anyway, so I keep thinking about that I want to pick this up, but I want to focus on my library books first before I pick up one of these. But I keep thinking about it, and then also I want to finish The Name of the Rose, because the books like The Physician have been sitting on, and Fall of Giants, and The Pillars of the Earth have been sitting on my shelf for a couple years now. It's like I need to pick them up, so I don't want to make the same mistake with Name of the Rose, but I want to pick this one up now. But with this one, the same thing might happen with this one. But yeah, because I want to pick it up. But then it's like, do I start the Lord of the Rings readathon now, or wait until the new year begins? And then there is another one I wanted, the Fall of Gondolin, which I think is also an epic poetry. I want to pick that up, but I think I do have that on my Christmas list. So it's like, do I pick it up and risk that, or do I wait or do I like buy it and risk buying it because like maybe Terry or my parents will see it and buy it for me, or do I wait until after Christmas before I get it? And I'm also trying to decide, do I go to Books A Million, do I ask the parents to drop me off at Books A Million sooner rather than later because to use that gift card, or just wait until December, and that way my first purchase on Books A Million, I might not have to actually spend any money. I'll just use the gift card. But I'm like, every time we go out, I keep thinking, with one of them, I decide to go out with them, I am like, to run errands or something, I'm hoping, maybe, but it's like, do I ask about going to Books A Million now? It's like, that's the problem with the fact that I can't drive, so I have to rely on them. Of course, for them, they probably think it's good, because then I won't regularly go to Books A Million on my own. But anyway, so yeah, I keep thinking about picking this up sooner, but there's other books that I need to get to as well. So anyway, now King Lear I am going to pick up either in November or December. But I don't know about if I'm going to wait until January to pick up the Silmarillion. But I do want to also start Paradise Lost as well. And I think I'm going to restart it. And I think we'll be going sometime in December. We'll be actually going to visit my sister. And then around, like I said, they'll come after, the day of Christmas Day. They'll come here. So, anyway, so that's kind of how things are going with my reading right now. And I would love to know how your reading is going right now. Are you using your library? Are you supporting independent bookstores and used bookstores? And if you like this video, be sure to give a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't already, click the bell notification below if you want to be notified about my latest videos. And I hope you are enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you all later.